There is only one person in the United States of America who can beat Barack Obama, and that is Governor Mitt Romney. Governor Romney has the private sector experience that Obama does not have. Governor Romney will cut spending, cut government, cut regulations, cut taxation, cut litigation, cut unfair trade practices, and cut the apologies for our strength overseas. Do you agree? Governor Romney represents hard work, the kind you get from the private sector, faith in God, family, and country, and an optimistic future where we work hard and keep what we earn. What a contrast with Barack Obama, who represents a pessimistic future of decline, debt, government control, bailouts, and rewarding the irresponsible. Don't we want to end that? Now I'm going to say a phrase, 407 years. You know that phrase? The opening words of the greatest speech ever given by a president of the United States, and I think Mitt Romney can be a great president like that. But it has another meaning in this election cycle. 407 years is 87 years. That's the combined total number of years that Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, and Ron Paul lived in Washington, D.C. Now, if they were going to change Washington, I think they would have done it already, don't you? We need somebody who spent 0 years living in Washington, D.C., Governor Mitt Romney. But we have to get him there first, and I'm here to talk to you about the Missouri caucuses, which are starting this Saturday, March 17th. We need to get everybody there. We have to deliver Missouri for Governor Mitt Romney. Are you all committed to doing that? You all have received a card that explains how to do it. What you need to do first is find out where your caucus is. It's not that easy, and the townships have been mixed around. There's been redistricting. Make sure you know where the right caucus is. You can find that on Governor Romney's website. They're handing out cards today saying how to get there. Also, the Missouri Republican Party has it on its website. So show up at your county caucus or your township caucus. You got to be there at 10 a.m. They will not let you in after 10 a.m., and you have to have a photo ID. Are you committed to doing that? Yeah. So am I. I'll be there. You also have to send an email out to all your friends and tell them how important this election is and how important it is to get Governor Romney elected, and make sure you get there, badger them, get their commitment to come to that caucus. Will you do that too? And then once you're in the room, you have to make sure that the Romney slate, the Romney delegates are the one elected. So stay there, fight hard for Governor Romney, and deliver us a victory in this caucus, in this primary season, and in this election in November against Barack Obama. I am so excited to be here. And in just a few minutes, we'll hear from Senator Jim Talent and the next President of the United States, Governor Mitt Romney. Thank you for being here today.
We're in the round. Tom Schweik, thank you for those outstanding remarks. Our state auditor, Tom, let's give him a round of applause. I know you did. And Tom's, did you tell him why you're in the suit? Tom's the only one in the suit because he's the state auditor. It's a rule in the Constitution. He cannot go casual. I wish the rest of us could wear jeans. You look great. You know, Tom travels a lot around Missouri, announcing audits and visiting with folks. I still get around Missouri a lot myself. I was in Warren County last Saturday night. Yeah, Warren County. Everywhere I go, people are worried about the country. And they're a little angry. I understand why they're worried. And I don't blame them for being angry. As a matter of fact, I think a lot less of Missourians than I do if they weren't a little angry. America is in the middle of difficult times. And make no mistake, there are more difficult times ahead no matter what we do. The dangers we're facing now don't rise from the decisions Americans have made in their own private lives. The problem is not the families we've formed or the community activities we enjoy doing, or the free enterprises where we work, or the churches or temples or synagogues where we choose to worship. The problem with America right now is the government. And specifically a government that under Barack Obama has become so big, so intrusive, and so irresponsible that it's threatening to undermine permanently not just the prosperity, but in fact the solvency and security of the country. Now, Governor Romney has the most comprehensive, the most detailed, the most conservative plan for reducing the size and scope and power of the federal government that any candidate has offered since Ronald Reagan. He's going to talk about some of his ideas. As good as the governor's plans are, they're not the first step on the road to America's renewal. The first step we have to take is not a change in laws. It's not a change in policy. The first step on the road to renewal is a change in presidents. The first step towards a better future for our country is to defeat Barack Obama and elect in his place the man who is with us here today, the man we're welcoming to Kirkwood, welcoming to Missouri, the next president of the United States, Mitt Romney.
Thank you. Senator Talent, what a guy. I often say he is appropriately named Senator Talent. What an extraordinary man. You're lucky to have had him as your senator. I wish he were your senator right now. Well, it depends on which party. We have to make sure. But I wish he were replacing the Democrat with this good Republican. This man knows how to get the job done. Yeah, please sit down. There are seats here. Wow. You guys in back, I'm sorry. Well, way back there, though, and say hi to you. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate the chance to spend a little time with you. It's good for you guys to be out today and to be out here in the sunshine. I was in Miami this morning. It's warmer here than in Miami. What's going on? What's going on in Missouri today? Now, he kept on saying Missouri. How many here in this audience call it Missouri as opposed to Missouri? Okay, how many say Missouri like I do? Okay, I'm in Missouri right now. I think we're going to Missouri a little later today, right? Yeah, we're going to be taking a trip over to Missouri. I'll tell you, it's such a thrill to get a chance to do what I get to do. I never imagined I'd be running for president of the United States. I spent my life in business, small business, and then the business got bigger, and then the Olympics. And somehow I backed into getting involved in politics because I care very deeply about people, and I want to help. And so I find myself running for president of the United States, and you would love it. I have to tell you, I wish you had the chance to do what I get to do, because I get to meet everyday Americans from all over the country, not the people who are in the news every night. The people who are in the news, by and large, are doing strange or unusual things, and so, you don't get a good sense of what America is just by seeing us. You have to see the folks that are living the lives Americans live, and as you do, you come away more inspired and more confident in our future, and more convinced, as Jim Talent just said, that the problem in America is not our people, it's not our churches, it's not our businesses, but it's our government. That they don't understand how America works. And I've seen this as I've gone across the country. I'll tell you, I was in one place with a guy named Norm Byrne. On his wall, he had over 100 different patents that he had framed, and bronzed and framed in his wall. I said, "Where'd you go to engineering school?" He said, "I didn't." I said, "Where'd you get your degree, undergraduate degree?" He said, "I didn't." No college degree, no engineering degree, and yet this great inventor of all sorts of electrical systems, just an entrepreneur, an innovator. And by virtue of his skill, why, he's hired a lot of other people that work for him. And then I met a guy named Bill Dobbin, an MD, and he has a factory that makes casters. You know those rolling things you put on the bottom of things you're pushing around? He makes specialty casters. And I said, "What got you into this business?" He said, "Well, I'm a medical doctor." And he said, "I got tired of the malpractice and all the regulations." And he said, "So my dad and I decided to start this caster business." And he employs a bunch of folks making these special casters. I just look around this country. I see entrepreneurs that are taking risks and saving their money and investing it in their little business and then hiring people and growing. It's what makes America the economic powerhouse we are. I was just... I just sat with a few folks from right around here. Someone making amplifiers for entertainers. Someone else who's got a landscaping business. Another person who's in teaching. another individual who's in the bakery business, talking about their businesses and the risks they've taken. All of them said that things are tough right now, that under the Obama economy, it's been harder, and particularly with high gasoline prices. These gasoline prices are really crushing a lot of people because folks have long distances to get to work. A small business oftentimes uses a lot of energy. In the bakery business, you're heating things up, that uses energy. You're delivering things with trucks, that uses energy. If you're in the landscape business, your equipment uses energy and your trucks use energy to get to the homes where you're mowing the lawns. And so people are really struggling. And at a time like this, the president's looking around for someone to blame. You know, it seems to be part of his nature. He's out of ideas. He's out of excuses. And in 2012, we're going to get him out of office. That's got to get done. But he said something that, I think it was yesterday, he said, the reason we have high gasoline prices is, and then he was seeking around. What could it be? What could it be? Now, I have some suggestions for him. Maybe it's related to the fact that you stopped drilling in the Gulf. Maybe it's related to the fact, Mr. President, that you were not drilling in Anwar. Maybe it's related to the fact that you said we couldn't get a pipeline in from Canada known as Keystone. Those things affect gasoline prices long term. But instead he came up with this. He said it's because Republican presidential candidates are talking in a very muscular way about Iran and their nuclear program. Now that's a pretty tough one to follow, all right? And frankly, it's disappointing to have the President of the United States take a serious foreign policy issue, which is Iran, the state sponsor of terror in the world, becoming nuclear, and trying to turn that into saying we're somehow responsible for high gasoline prices in this country. It's a real stretch, even for a guy who's gotten pretty good at making excuses. I wish, as a president, he would finally take responsibility. Take responsibility for 24 million people out of work or underemployed in this country. Take responsibility for not having drilled for more oil when he could have. Take responsibility for home values having gone down, down, down. And take responsibility for the national debt having, well, he's almost doubled the amount of our public national debt. By the end of his only 4 years, by the end of his first 4 years, he will have put in place almost as much public debt as all the prior presidents combined. It's time for this president to be held responsible, and because of that responsibility, he's going to be out of office this coming fall. Now, there's a big difference in the course that I would take compared to the course he would take for our country. I hope you recognize what's at stake in this election. This is a, you know, I say this frequently, this is a battle for the soul of America. I think this president wants to turn us into something we wouldn't recognize, a European-style nation with an economy like theirs, with high unemployment and low wage growth, and a military that gets shrunk down to almost nothing. That's what Europe has done. Europe doesn't work in Europe. We're sure as heck not going to import it here. The right course is not to make America more like Europe. The right course is to restore the principles that made America the greatest nation on earth. And so when it comes to energy, instead of saying, okay, we're not going to drill in the Gulf, or we're not going to drill in Anwar, we're not going to drill on the Outer Continental Shelf, and we're not going to have that pipeline from Canada, the right course instead is to say we're going to take every action to open up American energy, coal, oil, gas, nuclear, renewables. We're going to open up those sources and finally get energy secure in this country. There's another difference in our course. This president seems to be comfortable with trillion-dollar deficits. It's inconceivable to me that we would pass on to our children and to their children our debts, crippling debts. Ultimately, the interest is going to be paid on that year after year after year. Our kids and their kids. How can we explain that to them? Particularly given the fact that we were given the greatest nation on earth, bought by blood from the greatest generation. How do we look at our kids and say, we passed on these trillions to you? We will not do it if I'm president. We will cut federal spending and finally balance our budget. You know, the president's view of our economy is an unusual one. He talks about trying to create green jobs. I think that means he wants to give your green to people who helped his campaign. I mean, he gives money to Fisker and to Tesla. Those are electric car companies, just that we needed. You know, electric sport car companies funded by the government. And then Enter1, which is a battery company, gone bankrupt. Solyndra, of course, another one of these. I hope you understand that that kind of investment philosophy is not natural in this nation. It's not free enterprise. Free enterprise is letting people, consumers, markets decide which products they want and let them buy those things. I'm going to get rid of that kind of crony capitalism and return America to free enterprise and American consumer choice and freedom. There are other places we see things differently. He fundamentally believes that government bureaucrats can do a better job telling you what kind of health insurance you ought to have, what kind of coverage you ought to have, what kinds of provisions should be in your health care treatment. It could do a better job, for instance, telling the Catholic Church what they have to do for their employees. It wants to tell the Catholic Church to violate their own conscience and to provide contraceptives and morning after pills and sterilization to their employees. This is a president who has a view of health care which is that government knows better than people. My view is on day one, we stop Obamacare in its tracks and get rid of it permanently. There's one more thing let me mention, and that is a difference with regards to our military. The president announced about $500 billion in cuts to our military, and there's about another $500 billion to go. And his own Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, said this was a doomsday scenario, and yet that's how he's proceeding. And let me tell you something about the state of our military. I see a man here with a Navy hat on. How are you? Pardon? Your son's in Afghanistan. Thank you for his service. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know that our Navy is smaller now than any time since 1917? And it's on track to get smaller and smaller under the president's plans. And our Air Force is older and smaller than any time since it was founded in 1947. And our number of troops, I mean, you know how many times we saw men and women having to be rotated back through Afghanistan and Iraq. They're stretched to the breaking point in those conflicts. And yet this president's plan is to reduce our purchases of ships, to reduce our purchases of aircraft. And by the way, we build the ships here and we build the aircraft here. To reduce the number of personnel or active duty personnel. That's his course. My course is very different. I believe that we must increase our number of ships, that we should increase our number of aircraft, we should increase our number of active duty personnel by 100,000 and make sure we give our veterans the care they deserve. I don't just want to have a strong military so that we can win wars, as important as that is. I want to also have a strong military such that no one else in the world would ever think of challenging America. We must have military superiority to protect peace and prevent war. And so this is a campaign about a vision for America. Whether we're going to have a president who cares about politics and power and becoming more and more like Europe with larger and larger bureaucracies of people telling us how to live our lives, or whether we're going to instead return to the principles of freedom and opportunity that have always made us the hope of the earth. I mean, this nation began with an extraordinary premise by the founders of our land. It's so second nature to us that we sometimes don't stop and recognize just how extraordinary and brilliant were the views of the founders. Perhaps their brilliance combined with inspiration led to a document that said that we were not given our rights by the king or by the state or by the government, but instead by the Creator. And that and by very direct inference, those rights cannot be taken away by the state or the king, but only by the Creator. And among those rights are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Now, we know what life is, of course, and we know what liberty is. We've enjoyed it and lived it throughout our lives. The pursuit of happiness, sometimes we don't think about that very much, that little phrase. But it was the concept that in America, we would be able to pursue happiness as we choose. That the circumstance of birth would not determine what we might try and accomplish in our life. That the government would not tell us how to live our life or where to live it or what job we could have. That we were free to pursue our course in life. And by virtue of that freedom to pursue our own course, people from all over the world wanted to come here, seeking opportunity, freedom, and the chance to build a better tomorrow for themselves. It's what's made us who we are. And they came here, some highly successful, some not. By the way, of those that were extraordinarily successful, their success did not make us poorer. It made us better off. That's the nature of a free society. And so we have outperformed the rest of the world, building the strongest nation in the history of the earth and the most prosperous. I don't think our president gets that like you do. I think it's essential that we have to have in Washington a president who understands how the free economy works, how free people pursuing their own dreams make a stronger nation. I do. I've had that experience. I love America. I love the beauty of this land. I love the beauty of the people of America. And I love the principles upon which it was founded. If I become president of the United States, my job is going to be to make sure that you get great jobs, that we have good incomes again, that we get gas prices down to keep our money here in this country, that we cut the size of the government and balance our budget and rebuild a military that's second to none in the world. I love this country. God bless this great land. Together, we're going to make sure that we keep this land the hope of the earth. Thank you so much. Great to be with you. Thank you.